Corners Podcast. This is episode 2. I am Jason Thomsen with Bridge Advisory. I'm your host. And once again, we are joined by Jay Simmons. Thank you so much for joining us, Jay.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For anyone who missed episode 1, do you want to give them just a quick introduction and let them know how you fit into the Durum Capital picture?
Sure. I'm Jay Simmons. I'm the CEO and founder of Durum Capital. Started off as really my own investments into real estate and various businesses, and expanded from having a couple of family offices partnered with us to bring in many other investors in the retail markets. It's been great for us. It's helped us build out our portfolio and build essentially what is a much stronger business today than what we had at the beginning. So
wonderful. And for anyone who wants more detail, you can go back and rewatch episode 1, where we talked all about kind of the history, evolution of the company. And we introduced the industrial REIT, the Durum Capital Industrial REIT. And we talked about how this is an investment that was designed to be stable, predictable, cash flowing, and basically your own version of the pipeline that your dad owned inside your own portfolio, offering all that same predictability, that stability as a foundation that allows you to do all of the other things that you do under the Durum Group of Companies umbrella.
Yeah, that's a good summary.
That's great. Yeah. So today we're going to take it into a bit of a more current examination of what's going on in the economy here in Alberta. We're going to do a little bit of a forecast in terms of what you think is coming. But I'm just going to let
business.
I'm going to kind of just unleash you and let you go on this, because in our previous conversations, we've covered so many interesting topics. One of the things that you have been very frequent in explaining the importance of is the expansion of the natural gas and oil resources here in Canada, the distribution that's coming online, and the long-term impact of what that's going to do for the economy. You're very bullish on what's happening here in Alberta. So I think we just want to hear what you're thinking.
Well, I'm bullish because we've gone through like a decade of absolute pain and torture. It's been a really difficult operating environment for some time. But if you go back to basics, and I won't be the first person to have said this, but real estate investing has something to do with location.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Location matters in real estate. So if you just pull way out and take a really big picture look at the world, Canada is, it's this independent sovereign nation that has had, a long period of stability. And while we may think the amount of screaming and yelling that's taking place around politics here is difficult, I can tell you our oil field services company worked around the world in all kinds of different countries where, the levels of corruption and just there are issues galore almost everywhere outside of Canada. There's some pockets in Europe that are not bad, but all kinds of places that you go, there are major issues. And so Canada's got a level of stability to it that other places don't have. Canada is awash in natural resources. And so we are a fabulously wealthy nation, so owning real estate in this spot where we have a young, well-educated population, Canada would be, very close to the top of spots on planet Earth that I'd want to have money. Yeah. So now if you look at Canada, and we just zoom in one more time, and maybe we can just pause for a millisecond here and say, okay, well, we're in this nice, safe nation. Western Canada, we've been grumpy here for some time because we have troubles getting our energy to Tidewater, and people will have heard us talk about that. And because of that, our energy trades at a discount. And it's just simple supply and demand. We can produce more. We can produce way more than what our pipeline system allows us to get to market. And so then our oil and gas producers essentially flood our local market with more oil than we can sell. And because of that, the price of oil with excess supply on it goes down because the demand is not there. Yeah. And so we end up with this thing called the differential. And the price of oil in Western Canada historically is sold for about 80% of what West Texas sells for, or various other markets around the world. And so that's not fun. Yeah. And natural gas, and I don't think people understand natural gas and just how cheap our natural gas is. Yeah. So a barrel of oil is a unit of energy. And so natural gas, we trade natural gas in, well, MCF, MMBTUs. There's all kinds of different units that natural gas trades in.
Yeah.
But MMBTU, that's a British thermal unit of energy. There are six MMBTUs in a barrel of oil.
Yeah.
And so our natural gas has traded sort of in the $1.50 range for some time. And so just turn that around, we're buying energy, and it's at 1.5 times 6 is $9. So we sell our natural gas for essentially $9 a barrel, which is criminal. In Europe, it would sell for 10 times that.
Yeah.
And in Southeast Asia, it would trade for 10 times that.
Wow.
And so, so if you want to come to Western Canada, if you are from here, you probably have been yelling at the clouds for some time about this phenomena.
Yeah.
If you're from elsewhere in Canada, you can come and listen to us whine about that. But I've kind of changed my thinking on it. Mm-hmm. And having fabulously inexpensive energy, and it's actually when the Russians attacked Germany that this, or not Germany, but the Ukraine, that this really came to light for me. Yeah. There was one day after, so the war takes on and Germany is cut off from the inexpensive supply of natural gas from Russia and through the Ukraine and on down the line. And the price of natural gas in Europe goes to $75 an MCF.
Yeah.
We're selling ours for $1.50.
Yeah.
Hello. Anyway, there were 3 companies in Germany that went bankrupt on the same day. They were 100-year-old businesses, quality manufacturers, whatever, and essentially the cost of energy is what drove them to bankruptcy. Yeah. And so it dawned on me that actually having vast quantities of inexpensive energy in your backyard is a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the penny drop for me then. And since then, we've watched companies like de Havilland move to Western Canada. They're spending about $1.5 billion just outside of Calgary. And then the whole AI thing came along, right? Which is really exciting. If you look at AI, and it's no secret, these things are energy hogs. Yeah. And so they need a lot of energy. Yeah. But you don't need a pipeline to get that energy anywhere, right? We can burn energy right here in Alberta, create electricity, run a data center here. Yeah. So the province of Alberta has our internal load, the amount of electricity that we consume is sort of 10 to 12,000 megawatts, kind of in that range. Yep. And I should have updated these numbers before talking to you today, but the last I looked, there's 6,000 megawatts of demand with the ISO, that's the Alberta Electric System Operator. So a full 50% increase in demand for electricity for applications of new data centers that are coming along. New
projects. Wow. That changes the dynamic then. Having all of this cheap energy right here at home makes us sort of the ideal location for facilities that are going to consume a lot of energy.
Yeah, whatever that may be. Yeah. Right. Whether it's whether you want to build airplanes. We go back to that example in Germany. I phoned a friend of mine in Germany, and he went and found a company in his community that did the tail fins for the Airbus jets, and they're carbon fiber air jets, carbon fiber tail fins. Well, carbon fiber is, you start with carbon, which comes from the carbon chain, which we have lots of. Yeah. So you start with that stuff, you cook it and melt it and create these long threads. So it's more energy to get there. And then you add it together with a polymer, which is another petrochemical product. And then we put it under a vacuum, which is energy that creates vacuums. And then we bake it. Yeah. And that's another more energy. So it's just like, it's an energy sandwich. It's also a carbon sink, so we can sequester our carbon in carbon fiber products.
That's great.
So there's just so many opportunities for exactly that kind of thing to come into this province. The data centers we're quite excited about because you consume energy, you create data, and then it can go up into a satellite or it can go across a fiber optic line that's already together. Yeah. And that feels pretty good to me.
Yeah.
And so I think the world is awakening to these types of opportunities.
There's definitely some shifting in dynamics that are occurring. Now, in addition to that, though, the expansion of the pipelines that are coming online, the Coastal GasLink project out to Kitimat, we are seeing more of our energy also making it to Tidewater now.
Well, okay, so Trans Mountain that came into, that finally made it through last year. I mean, and well, I forget how many times over budget they were. I mean, how often in life can you be 6 or 7 times the original budget on a project and still have the economics work? Well, it works for our pipeline just fine, thank you very much, which is wild. So we produce, in Alberta, we produce about 4 million barrels a day. That pipeline coming in gave us an additional 600,000 barrels of capacity to get our energy to Tidewater. You can play with the economics on this because that 600,000 barrels a day at, if you use, I've been using $100 a barrel, although I know oil prices have softened here a little bit in the past while, but $80 US, $75 US, about $100 Canadian. So that's $100 Canadian times 600,000 barrels a day is it's $60 million a day times. So we'll just park that one. But in the process of getting that volume of energy out of the province, the differential, that discount that we get for our energy, has decreased from about $20 down to about $10 on the other 4 million barrels that Alberta produces. Saskatchewan, there's 1.7 million that comes out of there too, and so they get a ride on that. So,
and that's just a function of that original supply-demand issue that we were talking about.
That's right. It's a relief.
More relief means less pent-up supply.
It's an increase in demand in our little micro community here, and that just drives prices up.
That's great.
So it's not very often that you get produce more and get it at a higher price, right? It's like have your cake and eat it too. And so off we go with that. So then we got 4 million barrels times $10 is an additional $40 million a day. I'm going to add that to the 60 million. So that's like 100 million a day times 365 is $36.5 billion a year
of new value.
Of new value that's coming into this province. And that's a big number. It sounds like a big number to me. I was looking at the GDP of the various provinces. That's actually 50% of the GDP of the province of Manitoba.
Wow.
To give you some feel for the quantum of that. Meanwhile, in northern Alberta, we have this natural gas line going out to Kitimat. Northern BC is really where it is. Going out to Kitimat, and so that's going to be another relief valve for natural gas. And so go back to my little story of what is natural gas worth? Well, we sell it for $9 a barrel. We sell it for a tenth of what it would get in Europe or in Asia. And so, how long until that pipeline kicks in? Well, we filled it last year. It was done. It's fully commissioned and it's sitting there, and it hasn't moved any molecules yet because Kitimat, the LNG facility there, is not done quite yet. I received an email last week from our chief investment officer that there is a ship pointed in the direction of Kitimat, and they will take coming in for the first load of molecules. So it will be any day now. We're going to have news that is going to move energy, and so so we produce about 20 BCF a day in Alberta. If that's Alberta, the Prairie Provinces, but Kitimat will take 2 BCF. It's expandable up to 5 BCF. So that's a big number.
It starts off as a 10% boost, which is similar to what we saw with Trans Mountain, but the ability to go all the way up to a 25% boost, that's a really significant increase.
It's a big number. And so what's that going to do to the price of gas? I don't know. But I do know that 2 things are going to happen. The volume is going to go up, and the price is going to go up. And so that's going to be good.
And all of this combines to the bullishness that you feel
Well, right.
for
Yeah.
the Western
So it's not,
provinces.
and it's, I mean, there's so many things that we do. A good friend of mine, Joe Lloyd, is the chairman of Calgary Economic Development. He always is annoyed that I'm not celebrating all the other things that are happening. But so much, I mean, there's been a ton of things happening in technology. And we think of the inexpensive energy that we have here, the reason for the data centers coming to town. I mean, it's kind of an energy play there. But there's just, there's so many things that are happening in this neck of the woods that leave me feeling quite bullish.
That's great.
So,
and then the benefit is, over the last decade or so, you've been buying up industrial assets here in this market.
Way below replacement cost. Right?
Yeah.
We've had, if you stack up what inflation has been doing over the last decade, I will tell you the one thing I got wrong is I thought the value of these buildings would increase much faster than they have. They have grown slowly over time, but I would argue that they haven't. I should pull the numbers on this. I don't think that they've actually kept up with inflation.
Sure.
We had, the last decade has been a very difficult period of time in Western Canada with. Jump into the politics of the various things that have happened, but it's been a grind of a time for the prairie provinces. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about tariffs. So Canada, if we want to stand as a true, free, sovereign nation, we're going to need to be able to earn enough money to run our economy, and everything that's happening with the United States and the tariffs coming on, we should maybe Central Canada would like to buy its energy from the West rather than bringing it in from the States. I'm shocked that we have not heard in the news anywhere, but Trump has put tariffs, it's a 10% tariff on Alberta energy going into the States. And in Central Canada, there's no tariffs on energy coming in from the United States. And anyway, we do, people talk about having a pipeline that goes across Canada. It exists. It was C.D. Howe that put together back in the 1950s. We have a natural gas line that goes right across Canada. It is used today. But there's 2 BCF a day of export capacity that is still not being picked up by Central Canada, which floors me. Anyway, so I am hoping, it sounds like we're going to have Mr. Carney in politics, and he is talking about energy corridors and this type of thing. So I believe that energy and access to tidewater, and even just internally consuming our own energy with pipelines that are already in place might make a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
So I think having a lot of energy is actually a good thing. I was comparing and contrasting Alberta to Kuwait. Kuwait has a $1 trillion sovereign wealth fund that they have built off of reserves that are essentially about half of what we have in Canada. Their production is, I forget if their reserves are half and 60% is the production, but they're much smaller than we are. And Western Canada has provided, the number that I get out of the Fraser Institute is about $400 billion of capital into Canada from these provinces, and I think Canada's going to want more of that. And I think Canada is going to need that.
And there's more interest right now because of the international environment, what's going on with our largest trade partner. There's a lot more appetite for the expansion of projects within Canada than there's ever been in my lifetime, at least. So that's an exciting aspect as well. The idea that we could, as a nation, just become more integrated province to province, east to west, and really lean on our own resources rather than running everything through our neighbor to the south.
We I guess we have choice, but the choice of not doing it is not good. So I think Canada and the political will is completely changed because of the tariffs and the Trump influence, and so we sit with vast quantities of energy at our feet in an environment where energy and global demand for energy is very, very strong.
Yeah, and continuing to grow.
Yeah, and the other piece, I mean, you could do 10 episodes on the various basins in the United States, but there's just the quick and dirty on that is there's been a massive global disruption where the U.S. went from being a significant importer of energy to becoming a significant exporter, and it all came from the long-reach horizontal well multi-fracking technology out of the Permian and these various basins in the States. Well, they have, I mean, Trump is saying drill, baby, drill. They've been drilling, baby, drilling for some time. And those basins and all of the best locations have been drilled. And so they're scrounging around trying to find other spots to make it all work. And you don't run out of oil or gas. What you run out of is $50 oil, the cheap and easy stuff to get. And then you have to go for the more expensive stuff. And the last reading that I was doing on it, it sounds to me like mid 70s or 80s is the price point that the U.S. will need to make many of those basins work, which is over 100 Canadian. And we're just fine with those numbers. Right? So
if that's setting the global benchmark, that's not bad for us here in Alberta.
So I'm super excited on where we sit and all the possibility that lies ahead for Alberta, Saskatchewan, Western Canada. I think we're going to have a great ride. I'm quite excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's a great time to be here in Alberta. It's a great time to have a bunch of assets already here in Alberta. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming out of the future. So thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciated this. If you found this conversation valuable, you would like to be notified of future episodes, please do like, subscribe, make sure that you're signed up to receive notifications when new episodes drop. We're going to be doing this fairly regularly, so we'll have new content coming out to you guys on a bi-weekly basis or so. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation, and it's great to hear your insights on all of the things that are going on here in Western Canada.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.